We can totally get this.
Okay.
I'm sure that's.
I promise I'm not gonna.
Okay, we can do that. That's funny.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Can we pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, to help Darren out, we're gonna bump him up to the first item out of business here tonight.
Okay, thanks, Mark. We're still in the search of a truck to replace our missing truck,
Our missing truck.
our truck that caught on fire. So we found another one, this one we can get. Price is pretty reasonable at this point. It's a fully outfitted truck without a sander. You can buy sander separately, but, had a chance to go look at it yesterday. Test drive it and everything, it was decent. It's an older truck. And that actually helps it, it's pre-computer.
Pre-computer.
Yep.
It's probably not bad.
All mechanical, so it is a bonus that way. Aluminum cab, so it doesn't have a lot of rot on it. Pretty decent truck, low miles too. And it
What
is,
is it?
it's an international
International.
K-Star, yeah, 5,000. Right now,
year?
we should be able to do it
What year is that?
1993. And with getting that sander, we can probably outfit it. We can outfit it for less than what we have for that insurance money.
What were the miles on it?
41,000.
41,000. And it was used as a sander before?
Yep.
Plow truck?
Yeah, used as a plow truck. It has a brand new transfer case in it, which is the reason why it was actually apparently gotten rid of from the ones that had it before. They didn't want to replace the transfer case in it. It has had a replaced transfer case. It actually has an Oshkosh transfer case in it now at this point. Heavy duty. There in that transfer case is actually very low miles. That was at a military surplus. So it came out of a military surplus truck that was barely ever used. We're still doing a little bit more research on it, but it is available. And the price is ready at this point.
You said you talked with Dave Muller about it and so on?
Talked to Dave Muller, yeah, talked to Russ Cole, I talked to the mechanic over to Russ Cole. As far as availability for parts and everything, still no problem on those.
Mhm.
And of course, her opinion on the pre-computer is go right for it, stay away from the computers and go for the mechanical, obviously. But I know the age on it is a little bit, but it's a well-maintained truck.
Frame and everything's good.
Frame's good, yep, double frame, so it does have a little bit of the expansion in it, which you can't find a truck around here that doesn't have that. New York State and the double frame doesn't mix too well, but even that's not a problem from what everybody I've talked to about. Still a good solid truck. Just to keep you filled in with it at that point.
So I mean, we're looking at replacing the 85 or taking the 85 out of service anyway.
Yeah, or at least cutting back on it, yeah, so we
Yeah.
don't have to keep changing those tires and those rims and everything else that we seem to be having a problem with. The truck itself is still mechanically good, just we're having a terrible problem with the tires and rims on it.
So
Yeah, I mean,
save that for
that
bigger
concerns
snow
me a lot.
events.
Yep, backup truck, yep, so it doesn't have to run up and down the road. Actually, unfortunately, that has one of the longest routes to travel on to get out to its roads too, all the way out on Glen Burnie, Town Mtg Road out that way, so it sees a lot of state road travel. But it was kinda needed out there, it's one of the few that would make it up some of those roads. So yeah, if we could cut back on that one a little bit, save it as a backup. Like I said, the truck itself still works, but everyday use, we're gonna run those rims right off of it.
You know, we're trying to keep this in that $50,000, $57,000 range, and that's gonna be hard to do.
Very hard to do, yeah.
You know, and get something that's big enough to do what we need.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned about that 85. I don't want you guys to be dealing with changing tires on that.
No, we don't either.
That's too dangerous.
I know the age on this one seems a little bit intimidating, being that it is that much older, but sometimes that's not so bad, depending on how it was maintained. seems to be maintained very, very well.
So the cost on this with the new box is going to be 57, around that area?
Less than
You
that.
said less than the 50,000 we got on our insurance claim?
Yeah, a little bit less, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
give or take. By the time it's fully outfitted, I got some quotes for the sanders. Those are new sanders. We could probably, we haven't been able to find any yet, decent used ones. I'm sure there's some out there, but then again, we're still getting into the same boat there. Once you get something used.
I'm just trying to put this in perspective with the wish list,
Yep,
with the numbers that were given to us.
yep.
And how that's going to,
That would stay below what we had budgeted in for next year to replace that 85. And
Right.
it would stay just below or just about at what the insurance money is that we have now, which still keeps us a truck behind at this point by not having that.
And we still need to consider the 99 Volvo. So
That one,
that's-
yeah, yeah, by next year, that one, this year's gonna take enough work to get it going again, unfortunately. That truck's 14 years old now, it had a lot of use, it was bought brand new, but all year round truck, never stops.
Now this one you're looking at, do you know where it was? Do you know where it was at, what town it was in before?
Yeah, it came from the town of, no, now it's gonna stump me. Starts with an A. Anyway, it was down between Kingston and Hudson, down in that area, a little bit farther below us. Probably not quite the snow we've, of course, in the past years, we haven't had a ton of snow either, but,
still running them,
yep. Yep,
still dropping grit every day.
yep. Like I said, as far as I know, the reason they got rid of it was that crack in the crack transfer case.
Is there any chance of talking to somebody down there, or?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to do it today. The gentleman who bought it from them talked to him, and that was that reason, but I haven't got to talk to him directly myself. The old story was, obviously, they didn't wanna get rid of it, but weren't gonna put the money into it. Now, from what I saw, whether it really matters or not, but I did look on their website, the town's website, and they just built a new highway garage. The reason for building a new highway garage is because they were working with no heat and a dirt floor, so could be a pretty good reason why they didn't wanna tackle a project like that.
Makes sense.
You need an authorization from us tonight?
Yeah, probably, or at least authorization to move ahead a little bit farther on it, probably, because, yeah, it won't last. I don't think it'll stay there another month, the way that truck is in the condition. it is.
And if we got it, we'd have to get a box on it, do something about the plow.
Yep, maybe buy a wing plow for it, possibly buy a wing plow, we probably would, and they're around, $3,000 range, $3,500 range.
And it would take you how long to have that truck ready for winter?
Depending on the availability of a sander, 2 or 3 weeks, probably.
Okay. So the quicker we can move on it,
Yep.
better chance we have of getting it ready before the snow.
Yep.
We haven't seen the new one yet, right?
Called on that today.
Okay.
That's, it's at the international dealer. Getting the fuel tank switched off to the side, which was according to specs, and it's going to the outfitter, and they said they'll have it for 3 weeks. So
Okay.
we're still looking at 3, maybe 4 weeks for that.
Well, personally, I mean, I'd like to make a motion to give Darren, a little more leeway here to proceed with the purchase of this truck. Granted, you know, that it, hinging on the fact that it stays within the scope of our, insurance money that we got for the other one.
We gonna fix a dollar amount on this? We did the last time.
Yeah, the truck itself right now, they want, how much for the truck?
32,000 for cabin
32,000.
chassis, yeah. Cabin chassis was all the plow gear on it, minus the plow and the wing, but hydraulics, wing towers, all that stuff's all on it, all ready to go, yep.
So
Well-
I'll just do a motion to let them spend up to 35 or whatever on the truck, and then we'll address the other parts.
Yeah, we could do that, I mean, I don't know.
I just don't wanna give away the farm at the same.
No, I know.
I'd like to put a budget in, we're crunching numbers here too, so
Mhm.
we have to be a little
Yeah.
financially
Oh,
I mean, the whole thing sounds like it's gonna be within the wish list of our,
It does, yeah, it seems to be going good that
but still
way.
we have to be prudent in the purchase.
Yep, yep,
Do you think there's any room on the price they're asking for it?
I'm certainly gonna try,
Okay,
yeah.
alright.
I don't have a problem going a few over, but within reason.
Being that he did put that transfer case in it, and that I get, the value of that transfer case, brand new, is around $30,000 alone, believe it or not. Obviously, it was not a brand new transfer case, but it's about as brand new as you can possibly get. Whatever military surplus truck it came out of, chances are it had nothing miles.
Then we still
4,000
get parts
miles
for
on
an Oshkosh transfer case.
Yeah, it is an Oshkosh door miller transfer case, top of the line.
You drove the truck, you feel it was
Just
solid?
drive the truck, yep. Not tight, stays in the road, everything's good on it that way.
I think maybe we said 35, right? Yeah, without the box. Yeah.
So you wanna put that? in
Yeah, I
motion?
would make a motion that we authorize, Darren to, spend up to $35,000 for the purchase of the chassis and, cab, chassis and the other parts that are on it right now. And then we'll revisit when it's time for the box and the wing plow, we'll revisit that at another time.
Okay, that'll give us just a little bit more time to do some research on it too, but so far the research has come out positive.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Good luck on this one.
Yeah, thank you.
93 International.
Don't have to bid on this one.
That's probably a good thing.
The only other issue I have, and I talked to you guys about it a little bit too, we're having a terrible problem with road signs, road cones coming up missing, being stolen, and also some destruction of road surfaces also.
What are they doing to the road surface?
Donuts, burnouts on freshly redone roads. I don't know why that is fun, but apparently it is to some people.
Hey, it's good for me, more tires.
True. Either way, the
I didn't
sheriff's,
say that.
the sheriff's department is aware of it. They've been given a list of everything that's been stolen, amount that's been stolen. So
I
they're aware
think,
of it.
you know, there should be something out in the paper somewhere that,
I thought they
You
were
know,
gonna do something.
they are
about
sending-
it.
are they
They'll be
gonna put
sending out a
something
press
out there?
release.
Because
Yep,
that's a serious,
Very serious,
crime,
yeah.
especially removal of stop signs.
and they did take one of those.
Or road cones.
Any
around.
traffic
road
control
cones.
devices at all. so.
Yep.
Yeah,
Even road cones, right, they're there for a reason.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as, at night or in the, you
Yeah.
know, I know they get out a lot of times when the road washes out and the snow comes in, the cones are there, without them, there's gonna be
Right.
some serious problems.
Yep,
I don't know how we can address that, but I'm sure there must be penalties and fines and so on if we can just catch. what
And
it is
unfortunately,
doing.
those problems come right back to us,
yep, it does,
because they'll say you were negligent.
right, without them being there.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's an issue, and
Yeah.
I think people should be aware that if they see these signs laying around somewhere, or they notice they're missing, they should contact us right away.
And that's kind of, that's what the press release is gonna say, that
Okay.
if they can actually to contact the sheriff's office first, and then.
Yeah. Good.
I'm gonna see the sheriff later this week, so I'll see where they're at with their announcement.
Okay. I mean, the signs are expensive.
They are, I've had it about as high as I can get with it, it's enough's enough,
Right.
it's just out of control that they come up
I think
missing.
we need to run a little electric wire up in there.
Oh, you were thinking that
Type
too.
thing. We'll find you there the next.
Actually, the idea of a game camera would almost work, but you just can't position it right without, you never know who's gonna be where at what time, so.
Yeah.
Be better off if we could just catch them or deter them a little bit from it.
Yeah, the infrared's are pretty expensive,
Yeah. It's all wishful thinking, but
out of our budget.
Yes, at this point.
No.
if they can stumble across them somewhere else, at least, like I said, it can set an example, because it is out of control.
I'll be looking.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, I'm convinced to find some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Any other problems?
No other problems, just some progress, we're still doing good. As long as Mother Nature allows it, we're gonna continue out on the roads.
Good.
Mowers
they get-
working well?
Mower's working great, yep.
Okay.
Now, we still using the second grader?
That just went back
That
this
just went
morning.
back?
Yep,
Okay, so this was the last payment.
yep, that was it. Yep. Boy, that thing really bailed us out too, that was great.
Yeah,
So,
it definitely is worth it.
yep. Slowly getting ready for winter, we're trying to catch up in the shop as much as we can at this point. Still a little bit difficult while the weather's good, but we're starting.
Did you hear back from our friends?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. They said was the difference for the moto paving, for what the town would owe is, an additional 31,000, and I don't see that happening. That's what they said with the moto pavement on top of the surface. That was with them eating the oil and stone. We were covered with the oil and stone.
I think we ate the oil and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's too high.
I think we need to re-examine the next outfit that we hire to do this.
I think we need to re-examine them. I'd like to meet with them again.
I think we almost have to.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let them off the hook.
No,
I don't wanna let them off the hook.
no, I agree.
They have a
We
responsibility to the town, and I feel they need to step up, so.
We do.
They seem to be willing to do that.
Mhm.
We're talking about Peckham, just in case you don't know what we're talking about. It's a company that came in and did some roads for us, and, roads haven't held up the way we think they should, so.
No,
Like
there
I
was
said, I
clearly,
thought it was pretty clear, he asked what I thought they should do, I said, if you do a job and it doesn't work, I think you gotta give the money back.
there was
Which
clearly,
he seemed to be agreeable to then,
they did, yeah.
now they wanna,
Backhoe.
yeah, well, add a bunch of expense.
There was
Well,
clearly a
even
problem.
if
with
they
wanna
wanna
that.
do
do
it as a
anything
credit.
else, they can still give the money back. We can take that money, put it back in the bank, get some interest on it, and eventually we'll come back around and fix those roads again, even if it doesn't get done right now. But they definitely owe us something, and I don't wanna see them just walk down the road without doing something,
Yep.
so. Okay.
I agree. We'll work on a different time to meet with
Still
them.
dangerous on
Yeah.
that false nose.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems to be healing up a little bit now, but of course the weather's getting cooler now too. See what it does again in the springtime.
Well, you could report back to them if you want, that we discussed it at the town board meeting, and
Mhm.
they're not happy, and we wanna meet with them again.
Yeah, I will call him back again, the salesman anyway, so
Yeah.
he can relay from there.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
No, nothing else, unless there's any questions for me.
Oh, well, Darren's here, I wanted to bring up something else because of his capacity as a fire chief. Just to say thank you, because on October 9th, and Bill also, I was at my kids' open house at the elementary school. When I got out, they don't have cell phone service in there. When I got out, there were a bunch of messages, emergency type messages from I have a tenant, a rental tenant, and there was a fuel oil leak in the house, and she called Darren from the fire department, and by the time I got out, they had already fixed the whole thing. I mean, they were still there working on it, and it took many hours to clean it up, but I didn't even know the problem had happened, and they had fixed it. So I'm grateful, and they'll definitely be getting a donation from me. So thanks.
Oh, you're certainly welcome there.
I know it happens, and people don't realize it, but I want to make sure people realize it. And Bill even ended up in the emergency room because of it, so thanks for shedding
Try
some
to
blood
try
for
to
me.
suck it
Taking a
off the
bullet.
floor, or?
Good thing you
Not
only did
quite.
it.
So thank you.
You're welcome, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Guess you're good to go, Darren.
Okay, that was perfect, just in time
Get you,
to.
get you on the road to your next.
Excuse me, thank you.
All right, Darren, thanks.
All right, I will jump back to our other order here. I've got Scott Gluckertz here from Stop DWI, the county. Just figured he could give us a little information. There's been some discussions about DWI issues and where the county stands as a whole, and he's the expert.
Wow.
I don't know how I follow that up, but, I'm not gonna ask you to spend $30,000, that's for sure. Let me just give you a little bit of a rough overview. Stop DWI is a, program that's funded entirely through fines collected from DWI offenders. So there's no tax money that goes to the program whatsoever. Every check I write out, to police departments, school SAD chapters, prosecutors, wherever it goes, all comes from convicting DWI offenders. In that sense, the program should be self-sustaining. I took over Stop DWI coordinator about 4 years ago, roughly. I looked at what I thought was a glaring problem, was that the arrests were not as high as I thought they should be historically. So I threw a bunch of money at the police departments. Arrests went up through the roof, and then the convictions continued to drop. This is something I speak with Mark about once a month in my meetings. And to give you a rough idea of it, there's 3 different levels of culpability in DWI. There's felony DWI, which means you're probably gonna go to prison. There's misdemeanor DWI, which means you should get a little bit more harsh than the lowest level, which is DWAI, which is an infraction, it's a ticket, just like speeding or no seatbelt or something like that. One thing that's nice about DWI is if you like data, it's easy to find because DMV tracks all this stuff and they give it out to me once a month. So I started to track the data and I wanted to see where things were going with convictions. What I've noticed over the last couple of years is our conviction rate in this county used to be about 40%, 45%. So 45% of everybody arrested for DWI got convicted of a DWI. So the other 55% either were dismissed, they pled to something else, or they got a DWAI, which was a ticket, basically. Over the last several years, that percentage has gone from 45 down to this year at the, nothing to brag about, level of 15%. So 15 out of every 100 people in this county are arrested for DWI get convicted of DWI. The other 85% either get it pled out or do something else like parking on pavement, reckless driving, something like that, or they get a DWAI, or they get dismissed entirely. The problem with that, from my point of view, as a program that lives on these the fine money generated by this, is my revenue has gone also down in a similar fashion. This program was making $130,000 a year to support the different various causes that it's supposed to support a couple of years ago. This year, if I make $75,000, it will be a miracle. That's because when you get convicted of DWAI, the fine is about $300. Most courts give about a $300 fine. It can go up to $500, but they all get pretty much $300. Felonies can go up to $10,000, but we rarely see that kind of fine come out. So as you increase the number of people that get convicted of the lowest level of the offense you can, you're decreasing the amount of revenue you potentially can collect. And one of the arguments the problems I bring to Mark once a month is when you convict somebody of DWAI and you tell them to go to treatment, go to the victim impact panel, pay your fine, and then they walk out the door and nobody hears from them again, they don't go to the victim impact panel, they don't go to treatment, they don't pay their fine, and nobody really follows up with it that much. It's difficult to try to keep track of a lot of these people. I've made it my cause to try to change that number. 15% is embarrassing. I'll admit that. I can't point a finger at any particular reason. I think it's a systemic failure that started. The police don't frankly have a lot of time anymore. Everybody knows heroin's a huge problem in this county. And they are not making the arrests that they had been. Although September was a very good month for arrests. It was significant more than they had been several months prior to that. Cumulative. Last month was a huge month for them. But they also did more traffic stops. They did more checkpoints and different things that were a little more proactive. What I want to do now is try to put some pressure on the DA's office to try to do a little more work with prosecuting these guys. I throw a lot of money at the SAD chapters. I think the SAD students do a lot of work, and I'm amazed at the stuff that these kids are committed to. Later on, actually, October 31st on Halloween, we're having our second SAD function at the college. Catskill Hall is going to host probably another 150 students from across Delaware County are going to gather and try to get some programming and some different ideas of how their SAD chapters can go back to the schools and really bring some good ideas back to them. Stop DWI sponsors that. I don't know where to go to change the dynamic of watching these conviction rates drop. 20 convictions so far this year is what this county has seen, and that's not good enough by far. There's only been 135 arrests. Math comes out to about 14.8%. I don't expect it to get better the last 3 months of the year. There won't be a massive upshoot, but certainly I will appreciate that, but I don't think it's going to happen. As a result of that, my fine revenue will go down, which means that what I can provide to the SAD chapters and the law enforcement agencies that I do fund now will also go down. I have been meeting with Mark and my board and some other agencies that support Stop DWI to try to get some different ideas in, to find some different ways to motivate programming, but so far we have not been too successful with it. My concern ultimately, as both Stop DWI coordinator and as probation director, is I'm looking at a population of people who, for better or worse, are pretty much alcoholics. They need help, or they're going to kill people. And when I see the same names coming across my desk for DWI arrests, we have one guy that's pending now. He's had 4 arrests in the last year. We have people that have 3 arrests, and they just keep on churning out DWAIs, or they keep adjourning it and adjourning it and adjourning it and adjourning it. These cases take a year to go through because the defense attorneys know They don't want their convicted person to have to deal with this crisis that they have to deal with, which is a fine, maybe go to treatment, an ignition interlock device that they have to get installed now. There's all kinds of penalties that come with it, so they say, go easy on my guy, judge. And unfortunately, a lot of the judges in this county do. Again, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but I certainly, the numbers are not, they don't support anything other than the fact that nobody takes this crime seriously anymore. The majority of these cases too, I shouldn't say majority, a significant percentage of these cases where the person has been arrested, they're arrested for the original reason, the probable cause the police officer has to stop them is either they've been in an accident, or the criminal charges, I think it's 1212 from the vehicle and traffic law, which is failure to keep right. Failure to keep right means you just missed having a head-on collision with somebody, which is when the fire department always called in. I would like to see things change. Obviously, I'd love to see the conviction rate go up. I don't know if that's gonna happen or not, but I'm certainly gonna try to do what I can to compel the DA's office to work a little bit harder. I meet with the judges as much as I can to try to push them in the right direction, but obviously their hands are as tied as the DA's offices by the deals that they make. So, I would really very much like to see some change in this program. I haven't seen much of it lately, as Mark knows.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, our judge tells us that a lot of these things are already talked about with the district attorney and the attorney for the defendant.
Mhm.
And by the time it gets to the court, it's decided pretty much what it's gonna be, and then they just say, okay, that sounds good to me, and they go out the door. I don't, I mean, I know, you know, you've got the DWI guy, you know, that advertises on the TV all the time, that can get anybody out of a DWI. You know, I don't know really what the answer is. I mean, are the police are doing their job as far, I mean, are the breathalyzer tests being questioned? Are the blood tests being questioned? I mean, how are they getting out of it?
The main problem first is probable cause. Why'd you stop the car in the first place?
Well, yeah, and I think you find a lot of the police are just hanging outside of bars, and are they pulling them over for a
That's-
tail
yeah.
light or something?
That's not, yeah, taillight's a great reason to stop a car.
Yeah,
Because
I
it's
mean-
cut and dry.
Right,
There's no
if
subjective
there
reason.
really is a tail light.
Right,
I
if
mean,
there's
I
a
know
taillight,
cases where they've been stopped and, oh, your license plate's not working. Yeah, it's working, you know. And they're you know, they're cruising, looking, you know, and maybe that's not the way to be doing it, I don't know. And that's how the lawyer's getting them out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I
oh,
don't
yeah.
know.
That is the way it works. The main way process this should be working is the lawyer should be talking about what's the most suitable disposition for this case. If the defense attorney doesn't feel like it's a legitimate stop, they should go to a trial. They should go to a hearing and say, look, he's not guilty. Part of the problem is nobody, not the prosecutor, not the defense attorney, not the judge, wants to go to a DWI hearing because they're extremely long, they're extremely tedious, and they take a lot of effort on everybody's part. So they want to cut the deal, and I get that. I completely understand you have to grease the wheels and keep the court working and keep the docket moving. My problem is, because I see it from the probation side, is you're not doing anybody any favors. Because when a person walks into court on their second or third DWI and you say, okay, I'll give you another AI because we just want to move this along, well, that person's not learning anything.
Yeah,
They're not getting any
that's
help.
totally wrong.
And they're gonna be back here again in a few more months.
Yeah,
You know, and you hope that they're not back here because they killed somebody.
right.
You know, I worked for Delaware County now for 20 years, and prom season was not that big a deal to me till I became stop DWI coordinator. Now I sweat through every May thinking, oh man, when is this gonna hit? And that's the last thing I want to see. And the story I usually give people about what the tragedy that DWI really is there was a guy that left work in Binghamton, and he grabbed a 6-pack of beer. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. By the time he got to Davenport, he was doing 92 miles an hour along Route 23, and he blew .13. That was 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Thursday, when kids are going to soccer practice, and maybe the late buses are coming in. And it's just a matter of time before that bus gets run off the road, and we wind up with some deaths. And unfortunately, that's the other argument the defense attorneys use. My guy didn't hurt anybody. Yeah, he was drunk, and that was a bad thing, but he didn't hurt anybody. Well, my argument is, if I walk into a bank with a gun and I point at the teller and say, fill the bag up, and I walk out, I didn't hurt anybody. Why am I going to prison?
Right.
But all that doesn't matter, because the legal process has to find its way. And if the way is that we're gonna cut these deals, they're gonna cut the deals. The problem is the defendant is the one that's really losing out, because then what happens is they got 4 or 5 DWIs, they're going to county court. And maybe they're going to prison. And they didn't get that chance to maybe not do that. And the reason I know that's not happening is because I sent my list of arrests to the alcohol and drug center. I had the first 50 arrests of the year, I sent those names over, because it's all public record. to the guy that runs the clinic, I said, tell me how many of these 50 people went to treatment there? 4 went to treatment. Most of them were referred, but most of them didn't bother to go.
But there's no follow-up, that they didn't do what the judge told them to do, which normally you could be brought back into court and be handed a worse sentence.
Correct, you should be, right.
But then nobody follows up to find out whether they went or not.
Yeah, and that's not